Good afternoon. It seems hard to believe it's November with our record-setting high temperatures this weekend. I did hear on the news this morning, though, that expect when you wake up tomorrow morning, it's supposed to be in the low 30s. So, huge change. We've got a really busy week ahead of us. We have last classes, last games, and there's a few announcements, a few special events that I'd like to bring to your attention. First, tomorrow on Tuesday, we're having our annual Thanksgiving community dinner. It's a great opportunity for us to sit together and share our thanks. It starts at 6 o'clock in the dining hall, and it is a formal event. So Thanksgiving dinner required for all boarders tomorrow at 6, and we encourage certainly all day students to attend as well. And in exchange for that, at lunch tomorrow, we're having a buffet lunch. So buffet lunch Tuesday, but sit-down dinner tomorrow night. Exams begin on Sunday, as you know, and most days it's at 1 o'clock, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And on Wednesday and Friday, exams begin at 8 a.m. We're all here to help you. As I said last week, don't forget our advice from Inspector Gamache. Never be afraid to ask for help. And know that you can do hard things. Have confidence. It's been a great term, and a long term, and a busy term, but you've all done a great job, so stay strong right to the end. And we're going to start off hearing from Sam Chen.
How's all of you? My name is Sam Chen. I'm a 3-year senior from Sichuan, China. Before yesterday, actually before today, I truly don't know what to talk about for my senior speech. But people told me to talk about something unique, so here it goes. This is a life lesson I learned at age 4, and also the same story I wrote for my college essay. If you don't like it, which means I probably screwed it up. However, after this experience, I understand more about the importance of cherishing things around you, because you never know what's going to happen in the next second. I don't know if you ever heard of Sichuan earthquake, which happened in May 12, 2008. That was the biggest earthquake ever happened in China. And 4 years old me, I had the misfortune to experience that natural disaster. Even though I don't remember anything happened during my age 4, I would still remember that day. It was a Monday. I was playing hide and seek at the pavilion with my best friend Yang after lunch. I was a secret, and I'm glad I was, because otherwise I probably won't be here today. He was gone when I started to count. I bet he ran into the gym because that was the best place. And however, things happened while I was counting. The originally lively campus became a room, a desolate, a cold silence in a second. Building collapsed to the ground. The dust flows everywhere. Everyone on the playground was shocked and didn't know what to do. And the crying sound broke apart the next moment, and I believe I cried as hard as I can. In the blink of an eye, countless lives were lost to death. Countless parents and children were separated. Brothers and sisters never saw each other again, and countless children become homeless orphans. I'm grateful none of my family members were involved in that tragedy. In the 14 years after this, I never told this story to anyone, and I was always unable to bravely face the thing. I never told this. Hundreds of people have lost their lives in front of my eyes, and today I stand here to tell this story in front of so many people, which prove that I have finally let it go. I want to thank my family, my friends, and whoever supported me and helped me overcome this tough time. In the end, I want to say one more time, cherish the things and people around you because you never know what's going to happen. And I had never seen Yang again. He never returned to school, and I bet his family probably moved to another city. I want to thank Yang to making my childhood the best time of my life. This is my story. Thank you.
Hello, Southfield. I'm Damon Lee, a 3-year senior from Beijing, China. Chapel Street to me has always been the stars in the night sky, visible, but just out of reach. It has always been something deemed honorable and important. It is distant and intangible. While in my chapel speech, I recall that junior me sitting with my advisory group, listening to our seniors sharing their joys and happiness, their tears and sweats, and their friends and families. Yet junior year flashed by like a bullet, piercing through my yet awakened dreams of the Suffield life. All of a sudden, I'm a senior now. As the giant cruise of career is about to anchor in the emerging land of college and future, a faint sense of sorrow with the precise opportunities I wish to show my gratitude for my friends, and so that they are always there for me. After a long and fruitful summer break, I was fresh and ready for my senior year. Although many has warned me of the pressure, it was only until class starts that I realized the tremendous workload it imposes. In academics, the classes were more challenging. Not only did I lose a lot of my free time, but also did I have to work extra to adapt the quick pace of these courses. Just as I thought that it wouldn't have been any worse, college applications and standardized tests slapped me hard on my face. I would spend hours crafting essays, fighting every sentence, every phrase, only to find out that a giant pile of homework still awaits for me at midnight. The skies were never clear to me because I never had the energy to look up. From all the homework, the pressures that blurred my swollen eyes with lines after lines of letters. Seeing my peers laugh and play every day, I feel like I'm the only one who is wrong, the only one who is suffering, and the only one who is lost. The world around me closed as my cracked heart frozen and dragged me down bit by bit as days went on. Before I even noticed, I sank into the endless stand of darkness and depression. Suddenly, a glimpse of flicker, dim but visible, glowed out of the dark surface. Gradually, traces of light penetrated the darkness and shined through my face. Amidst them, a glowing hand reached out and picked me up. I blinked. Through my swollen eyes, I saw my friends anxiously staring at me. "You look really down. Are you all right?" A soft voice spoken. "Don't worry. Tell us about it. That's why we're here." I felt a pat on my back. "You know what? Let's go out for a walk, shall we?" Before I could even resist, I found myself under the bell, staring at the distant horizon, gilded by the rosy gold of the setting sun, a beautiful fade from aqua blue to the late autumn red. We sat there, side by side, bathing in the warm sunshine and listening to the sound of nature that bounded us in silence. It wasn't until then that I realized the beauty of friendship lies within that one could find its resonance, rain or shine. A long absent sense of fuzziness arose from a beating heart. I smiled. How could I have ever forgotten that to talk to my friends, and they're there for me? We used to celebrate under the rising sky. We used to mourn under the trembling rains. We used to greet the twinkling stars in awe, and we lay under the common horizon, sharing our stories. Just like the galaxies, friendship cherishes our commonality and praise our differences. It is the sword that cleaves the darkness, the lighthouse that guided the lost, the guardian angel that shields the danger, and torch that melts the everfrost. To all my friends, this speech is dedicated to all of you for the company and help that you gave me on my journey. I hope all of you could reach for your stars and fulfill your dreams. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hi, Suffield. My name is Trevor Lucier, a four-year senior from West Suffield, Connecticut. Now, Suffield Academy has been the home to some of my brightest memories and some of my not-so-great memories over the past couple years. Today, I would love to share two of these moments with you all. Let's start with what happened last Thursday. Less than a week ago, as I was pulling into my parking spot, it took probably a surprising turn. What seemed to be in slow motion, I had ended up down a hill in someone's trunk. As I peeked over my car into Centurion, what could be no less than a million eyes pressed against the glass looked over at me. The true embarrassment of what just happened was more than I could handle. I was soon greeted by Mr. Carroll. He gave me probably the worst news I could hear at this point. As I asked whose car it was, he was quick to answer, Mr. Edwards. My heart dropped. See, me and Mr. Edwards share some history. I was grateful to have him for my sophomore year Algebra 2 class. Yet we always seem to see things differently. The signs would point to my dress code, or lack thereof, and his need to grade homework on correctness led to feel indifferent of each other. But there he was. As he walked out of the math building, taking his bow tie off, I was truly ready for the worst. But I was greeted with something completely different. A fist bump and a hug. I was shocked. I had just ruined his car. but this moment reminded me of the loving community here at Suffield. The funny texts and calls from friends and teachers that showed up for me in this moment truly shined. And a special thanks to Ms. Nye. Your hospitality in your office was great. I really did appreciate it. But on the other hand, my time at Suffield would not have been the same without the group of 9 guys who most of you know as the DSBs, but I would call nothing short of family. As a freshman, a few of these guys, including me, were selected to be on a great third soccer team led by the likes of Mr. Van Dam and Mr. Hibbing. This team is where I found a group of guys that made the past 4 years the most memorable years of my life. From the endless hours on the turf playing spike ball, or the spur moment ideas in the summer, thank you for making the good days great, or the bad days good, and the good days great. I can't thank you guys enough for the past couple years, and many more to come. So thank you, Suffield, for the most amazing 4 years, and for memories I hope to forget, and some I hope I definitely don't. Finally, a special thanks to my parents for putting up for the chaos the past couple years, and always being there if needed. Thank you.
Hey Suffield, my name is Jake Islam, and I'm a 4-year senior from Suffield, Connecticut. When thinking today about what I wanted my chapel speech to be about, I was thinking about the most important things in my life. I contemplated talking about gymnastics, my friends, aka the DSPs, aka the most attractive men on Suffield. But when it all came down to it, I felt as though it would not have been right but to not talk about my favorite teacher here at Suffield Academy. However, ironically, my favorite teacher at Suffield is someone whom I never actually had as a teacher, an advisor, a coach, anything. My favorite teacher here at Suffield is Mr. Islam. For many of you, Mr. Islam is the new young teacher who you try your best to take advantage of and leave class early. But for me, Mr. Islam is the most special person in my life, my older brother. It came to a lot of people's surprise that me and Joe were siblings, which confused me because I think the resemblance is quite striking. All jokes aside, I would like to tell you some of my favorite memories I had growing up with Mr. Islam. Joe is 24 years old, meaning he is more than 7 years older than me. So although I don't remember a lot of my childhood, Joe definitely does. I'm constantly reminded that I cried more than any baby they could have ever imagined. This was disappointing to Joe because he was very excited to have a little brother, but did not anticipate how dramatic and whiny I'd be. When I think about Joe, I think about my early memories of us at the beach. Whether it be at Misquamicut, Rhode Island, Cape Cod, or the Outer Banks, I hold some of my fondest memories with Joe at the beach. Before I explain these stories, it is important to know I was blessed with the most boring and lame sister who only found it fun to read and tan at the beach. However, to my great benefit, that left Joe to be my personal entertainer and buddy at the beach. My first memory with him at the beach was digging extremely above average sized holes in the sand. Looking retrospectively, I actually have no clue why we did this, but we were clearly very easily entertained in our young age. Another beach activity that Joe introduced to me was body surfing. Our experience with body surfing was as fun as it sounds for much time, catching the perfect waves at the perfect time, letting them push you to shore and doing it all over again for hours. This joy would soon be crushed on our spontaneous trip to the Outer Banks in 2020. We had spent the first 3 days of the trip body surfing some good waves that perfectly met both qualities of safety and fun. However, on our 4th day of vacation while me and Joe were body surfing, we looked behind us to time the next wave. However, this time, the wave was a little bigger than the one before, like probably 6 feet bigger. From the original waves around 5 feet, this wave towered at least above 10 feet. Me and Joe looked at each other and we shared the mutual thought of, screw it. This was just the start. So the wave approached us at a barreling speed, which seemed around 100 miles an hour. We timed it, turned around, and were immediately swept to the top of the wave. After about 2 seconds, I was swept under the wave and proceeded to flip multiple times, banging my head and back multiple times on the rocky sand below us. As I came to the shore, I thought the little scratch in my back was the worst case scenario. This was until I looked over to my side and saw a mauled figure resembling a beached whale. He looked up at me, I walked towards this lifeless body to find it was Joe. He looked up at me, and I couldn't help but laugh. He had scraped his face all along the sand beneath him, making him look like Marv from Home Alone after he got hit in the face with a hot iron. He stood up, not saying a word to me, and walked back to our chairs. Needless to say, this was the last time me and Joe went body surfing. The last memory I will share with you today takes place in the midst of the COVID lockdown in 2020. Me and my family were surprisingly met with Joe's high school best friend, Carl. Carl was originally from Sweden, but needed somewhere to stay in the States during quarantine. We took Carl in, not expecting the memories that were to be made. Carl and Joe were a dynamic duo, to say the least, living in the same room for 3 months. Us three spent a lot of time together, and I was soon sharing my best friend with a beer-bellied Swedish guy who had a scary resemblance to Fat Thor from Avengers Endgame. Through quarantine, the three of us played an unlimited amount of Madden, putting Christian Wilkins on our lineups even though his rating was borderline garbage. This was also the time where we introduced Carl to Spikeball, commencing the most competitive games in the history of the sport. Lots of relationships were lost to Spikeball, including a 3-day period of shunning in which me and Joe acted upon each other. Throughout this time, however, I was able to grow really close to Carl and still miss not having him in our house every day. Without Joe and his knack for making friends with weird people, I would never have had the pleasure to meet him. I wanted to share these memories with you all today to hopefully show you all how cool of a person Joe is, and even if he does not body surf with me or play Spikeball anymore, I still love him. In all seriousness, when I look back at my life and think of the person that made the most impact on me, Joe is the only answer. He's the epitome of a role model as he shows kindness to everyone, is smart, so smart he doesn't even know it, and the most fun and hilarious person I've ever met. To this day, I do not think I would have made it through life without your guidance and love. I'm dreading leaving you next year, and I do not know what I will do without you in my life every single day. Before I leave you all today, I also wanted to thank the other people who have had the biggest impact on me. First off is my parents. Mom, thank you for being my personal manager, nutritionist, cheerleader, and everything else. You remind me every day of what it feels like to be loved unconditionally, and I credit all my success to you. Bubba, thank you for being a constant reminder that with hard work, anything is possible. Your day-to-day resilience to fight all the obstacles in your life is what made me into the person I am today. My sister Morgan, although you cannot be in person with us today, I hope you are watching when I say this. You have been like a second mother to me and the best big sister I could have ever asked for. I'm glad you were cool now because you were really lame in high school. Mr. Dugan begged me for a shout out, so I suppose I will get one to him. Mr. Dugan, you have been a pretty fantastic advisor to say the least. I have known you for 10 years and I'm glad I could live under your wing for the last 4. You have been the most accommodating person and helped me through all my challenges in school, life, and gymnastics. I know you'll miss me. Miss Rawlings, having you in AP Lit last year had a greater impact on me than you know. You recognized me as a weaker writer and developed me into someone that can be confident and proud of my work. You also taught me that I'm not weird for caring about school, and your support the past 2 years has not gone unnoticed. You're also one of the coolest and realest people I've ever met. The DSPs, my boys, we've been through it all together. You guys are my family at school, and although I lose brain cells and all my patience in the majority of conversation, I'm going to miss you guys like crazy. Lastly, Joe. Joe, thank you for being my constant reason to wake up and come to school every day. I aspire to be only the half a man that you are and envy your compassion for everyone. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Dear future Anna, this is how I began the letter I wrote in 6th grade to my graduating self. Hi Suffield, I'm Anna Calkins and I'm a 4-year senior from East Long Meadow, Massachusetts. When I was in elementary school, I could not wait to grow up. In 3rd grade, I was so excited to have a locker. In 5th grade, I was ecstatic to switch classrooms for each subject, and in 6th grade, I was thrilled to finally get a computer. I remember always being so eager for the future to come sooner, always so curious about what was to come next. So, in 6th grade, when there was an assignment to write a letter to your graduating self, I wrote pages. Pages meaning I needed 2 stamps to send the letter. First off, I wrote a couple of questions. Do I still play the violin? I played the violin for 3 years in middle school, but my violin did not love me as much as I loved it, and now it sits in my closet with 3 broken strings. Am I still struggling in Spanish? Nope, I switched to French. And do I still love swimming? This question is a little bit more complicated, and I have a hard time saying anything other than yes. Although I have tried to quit multiple times and then changed my mind to aspire to swim in college within the same week, I know past Anna would be disappointed if I gave up on her dreams. Although I never became the youngest person to go to the Olympics, and that ship has definitely sailed, every winter I'm still in the pool, and I was lucky enough to have been coached by Mr. Lowe for 3 of my 4 years at Suffield. My team has always kept me anchored to the sport, and especially my advisor/coach, Ms. Rawlings, has always reminded me that I, in fact, cannot quit. The rest of the letter was filled with the typical 6th grade news, like who had a crush on who, and which of my friends I was going to play with that afternoon. If she had known that 6 years down the line, she would be reading parts of this letter to 500 people, maybe there would have been some more important things to say. However, if past me knew that 6 years in the future, I would be a senior at Suffield Academy, she would not believe me. Even freshman year Anna would have her doubts. In fact, freshman year Anna never thought I would have to give a chapel speech because I thought my high school plans would change before senior year. In all honesty, I did not feel like Suffield was the place for me, and I spent my freshman year 1 foot in and 1 foot out. However, with support from Ms. Rawlings, she convinced me to stick out another year, and now here I am as her first 4-year advisee, and I cannot imagine myself anywhere else. So, if I could write a letter back to my past self today, I think it would be just as long. I would love to tell my younger self about all the amazing friends I have in my corner, about the 2 new sports I play in addition to swim, and about the new place in Suffield, Connecticut that I call home. Hearing this, I just know little me would be even more thrilled to get older. Although I do miss the time when life was so simple, and my only worry was whose mom could drive there if my mom drove back, I still look forward to my future with the same hope that I did in 6th grade. In the words of 11-year-old Anna, stay forever young. Till next time, thank you.
Hi, my name is Tucker Clegg, and I'm a 3-year senior from Atoll Valley, California. I've learned a lot as a Suffield student, but I think my greatest and best moments came from my sophomore year roommates. I wasn't really sure what to expect as a 15-year-old attending my first boarding school, and I wasn't really sure what was going to happen. But then, everything was settled when my roommate walked into the room. Danny Popolov strutted into my room with basically only laundry bags. Danny is a Ukrainian from Spain who speaks little to no English, so I wasn't really sure how rooming was going to work out between us. We ended up playing Super Smash Bros. And speaking Spanish and playing Modern Warfare all the time. Danny is absolutely filthy at sniping at Modern Warfare, but that didn't change how we got along. We got along until sports started. Danny would get back from sports and would sit in his soccer gear and play Modern Warfare for hours. He would sit there sweating, causing the whole room to reek of BO, and I began to adopt his habits. Our room began to smell like a locker room. We were both super messy, and ultimately this led us to switch roommates. This leads me into my second roommate, JJ. After banishing Danny from my room, the man Jaden Johnson became my new roommate. Me and JJ's room was completely different. We bunked our beds, and I learned something new about 2K every night. I began watching way more LeBron than I probably should have, and I learned what New York drill is. Then, in the middle of the winter term, a COVID outbreak began, and we were both identified as close contacts. JJ, Hamza, and most of the sophomores in row were sent to the quarantine house and go-karted up by Mr. Booth. We all lived together in a house with unlimited food, internet, and nothing to do but school. Online classes for us made life dull, but I was glad to have my friends around to keep me sane. After being kicked out of the quarantine house by Mr. Lynch, me and JJ had to end up living in a hotel for about a week and a half until we could prove that we were quote-unquote COVID-free. We spent this whole time sleeping, playing more 2K, and attending online classes. Finally, spring term rolled around and campus became a bit brighter. Me and JJ ended the term as the last ones in our dorm. This was my first real experience ever being a boarder and having roommates, and it was what sold Suffield for me. Finally, thank you to my parents for giving me all of these wonderful opportunities and for sending me away. And thank you to my advisor and sophomore English teacher, Ms. Rawlings. I think you're very insane for picking me as an advisee, but I appreciate everything you've done for me. Thank you. And thank you to all the boys that I've ever lived with. You've made it pretty great. And finally, thank you to Mr. Lynch for always helping me make smart choices.